Finding out how much a degree costs in Australia is incredibly confusing, and that's because the cost of a degree is broken down into 3 different layers. The first is the total cost, which ranges from 80 to 150,000. Now, no domestic student, that's Australians or permanent residents of Australia, will ever pay that first layer of cost. And I'll talk about why in just a moment. First, I want to explain why there's such a large range from $80,000 to $150,000. And that's because it depends on what type of degree you choose. Degrees are broken down into low, mid, and high cost. And that's just the government's way of encouraging people to do certain degrees. So the lower cost degrees are the ones the government would like to see more people take, potentially because we don't have a lot of people studying those degrees. So at the moment in those lower cost degrees, you have mathematics or nursing, whereas in the mid cost, you have other science degrees and engineering, and the higher cost degrees are things like law, economics, and humanities. So choosing which degree you're going to do can matter a lot. Now, no Australian will ever pay the total cost of the degree, no matter which degree you choose, and that's because of something called Commonwealth supported places, and the government abbreviates that to CSPs. If you're an Australian citizen or a permanent resident, the government will pay 2/3 of your degree. So that means if your degree, for example, is $120,000 for the total cost at step 1, now you'll only be paying around $40,000. You never have to pay the other 2/3 of your degree. Money just exchanges hands between the government and the universities. You're not involved in that process whatsoever. For that remaining third of your degree that you do have to pay, you then have a choice. You can either pay it yourself or you can apply for a HECS or help loan. Most Australians will do that because it means you don't have to start paying for your degree until you're working and actually making some money. It's very hard to pay for a university degree while you're studying because studying takes up most of your time. A HECS or help loan is very easy to apply for, and it's part of the natural process when you start university. It's almost like a tick box process. You'll be asked whether you want to apply for one or not, and you'll simply say yes. The HECS or help loan is covered by the government. It means you don't have to pay for your university degree while you're studying, but you do have to pay for it later, and it is indexed. Index means that the cost of your loan or of your degree will increase at the same rate as inflation. There is no interest applied to your loan. It doesn't get bigger in that sense, but it does get bigger year after year. To give you an idea, some years it's only going to be 2%, another year it might be 7%, and that's how much your loan will go up by and how much you'll have to pay in the future. For example, in the 8 years after I finished my degree, my help loan went up by $8,000. So it's not a small amount. Just something to keep in mind that that's how that system works. Let's talk about some of those extra costs now, because while your tuition or course costs are covered for the period of time you're at university, there are a lot of other costs involved. The first is a student services and amenities fee, or SSAF. The SSAF is to fund things like clubs and services on campus for you. So unfortunately, while you may choose to never take advantage of them, I certainly really didn't, you have to pay for them anyway. Most SSAFs are around $400 a year. You'll have to pay that for every semester that you're enrolled at university. So even though you're enrolled in, for example, a 3-year degree, if it takes you 5 years, then you're going to be paying every semester for those 5 years. And you'll pay the university directly. The HECS or help loan won't cover that. Textbooks and course materials. You can easily spend between $500 and $1,000 every semester on books and materials for your specific subjects. They're going to be more expensive in things like law and science and medicine, especially where you might need extra equipment for your subjects. Lab coats, dissection tools, rock hammers, compasses. There is a whole range of things, and everything adds to the cost of your degree. Let's talk about those hidden costs now that no one tells you about. The first one I want to talk about is placements or practicals. These are only associated with certain degrees like teaching, nursing, dentistry. They're related to degrees where you will have to go and do a placement in a job environment. Many of these require that you go to different areas around the country. What no one tells you is during that time, the chances of you getting paid for your placement are slim to none, and you will have to pay rent wherever you are going, and all of your living costs. I've known many students that chose a degree, and when it came to the year that they had to do their placement, they simply weren't able to continue. So they had accumulated a debt for a degree and then couldn't finish it. This is definitely something to take into account when you're choosing your degree, so make sure that you will be able to complete the placement process financially. You get some choice in which areas you get to go to, so maybe if you have family or friends in other areas around your state, you may be able to take advantage of that. But this is a huge hidden cost that is thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars. One cost that catches a lot of people off guard is deferred payments related to classes they didn't complete. When you first enroll in a class, you have around 5 weeks until census date. By that date, you have to decide whether you're staying in the class or whether you're dropping out. If you drop out of that class before census date, it doesn't matter at all. There is no cost involved. It doesn't go on your academic record. It's not seen as a fail or anything like that. It just disappears from your life. It's great for electives. If you choose an elective and then you go, oh, this is really not what I want to be doing, it's great because it means you can drop out of it, no academic or financial penalty, and you can go and choose another subject that you would like to try. But if you wait until after census date, then it does go on your academic record and you have to pay for that course. So it will still sit under your HECS or help loan system. You can pay for it later, but it does add to your total degree cost. And that will be between $1,000 and $5,000 depending on what degree you chose. The same goes for any class that you don't pass. For example, if you took chemistry and the first time you did the class you failed, but the second time you passed, you will still have to pay for doing that subject twice. So that will add thousands to your degree cost, and then that will then increase over time. The next one is tech and equipment. And this is a hidden cost because no one really talks about it. When you're at university, you need to use a computer. Now, you can use the ones available in the library, but that often means that you're stuck doing work only at certain hours when you can be on campus. Whereas a laptop is the most helpful because that way you can take notes while you're in lectures or complete assignments while you're sitting in class doing practicals and labs and things like that. A laptop is not cheap, and there's also the chance that one could break during your university degree. Your degree goes for several years. So there's an extra cost there. You'll also usually need extra hard drives and things like that. And then there's also the cost of software. For most university degrees, if you need a software package for a particular class, the university usually covers the cost and has the licenses available for it. But that's not always the case for every single class. So for things like engineering, sciences, or architecture or graphic design, you want to have a look at your university and see if they cover the costs of all the necessary software packages. The cost of those can really blow out. For tech and equipment, you're looking at around $800 to $2,000 up front, and that will just depend on whether you already have your own computer. And while we're talking about tech, one unexpected cost is printing. Thankfully, mostly these days, we don't print a lot on paper, but at university, for some reason, you will still have to print loads of paper and submit them, whether it's for posters or for assessments. And printing costs a lot of money. For printing, you're looking at between $20 and $200 per semester, unless, of course, you're studying a fully online degree, in which case it should be zero. One last hidden but small cost is actually associated with graduation. Thankfully, by the time you get to the end of your degree, you won't care how much it costs to graduate, but you will have to pay for the cost of your gown, your cap, and for tickets for your family or friends to attend the ceremony. It's not usually more than $100 or $200, but it's something to take into account for your total degree cost. If we add all of those costs up, you're going to start looking around $60,000 to $100,000. Thankfully, it's not something that you'll have to pay all at one time or even upfront. But let's talk about 5 different ways that you can make uni more affordable for you. The first is a simple one, but it can save you thousands of dollars each year, and that's to not buy any textbooks. I made that mistake once, and 9 times out of 10, you will never do the required reading. And don't get me wrong, it's not because you don't want to, but it's because most of the time in university, you're so busy doing assignments and studying for exams that you have very little time to do your required reading. In first year, you'll have more time than any other year, but beyond that, it's unlikely. I don't recommend buying textbooks. There's 2 better options that I prefer. The first is if you can obtain a digital copy, which there often are if you talk to your lecturer or the library staff. Digital copies are better anyway because you can Command or Control F and search for things that might be helpful for your assignments or your practicals or even exams, making the textbook more useful than just sitting there and reading one assigned chapter each week. The other option is to borrow the physical copy from the library, or if you really want to buy a copy, then grabbing a second-hand one. because anybody that buys the textbook will be trying to offload it the very next semester. I promise you. They don't want to keep it, and they've just found out that they wasted their money. The second way to make uni more affordable is a big one, and that's to choose a regional campus instead of a city one. When you choose a regional university, for example, JCU, instead of something like UNSW, the cost of your degree itself, the tuition cost or course cost, will be cheaper. They're often also better subsidized by the government. And the second way this can save you money is because by living in a regional area, your living costs are usually lower than if you're in a city. Now, the exception to that is if you're able to stay home and you don't have to pay rent, then that's always going to be cheaper. But if you are paying rent in a regional area, for example, Townsville, is going to be cheaper than Sydney. Unfortunately, it just is. And you can use that same tactic if you need to go and do placements. Pick a regional area where the rent is cheaper. Use any student discount you possibly can. That goes for public transport, Spotify, software packages. Any and every way you can pull out your student card, do it. It can make a huge difference over the course of your degree. Once you've enrolled at your university, you then want to look at any programs that your specific university offers. Sometimes they have grants available, laptops even, different programs set in place to make uni more affordable, but they're specific to your university. So to find that information out, just head to the front desk at your campus. And a great way to make uni more affordable is to take advantage of free resources. There's a lot out there that can make doing your university work easier and faster. Google Scholar, ChatGPT, Canva, and especially YouTube. You'll find a lot of free resources on there that you can use to make your assignments easier, to study for exams more efficiently, because overall, the faster that you can finish your degree, the lower your cost overall. If you can finish a 3-year degree in 3 years, the cost of your degree will be at the lowest possible point. For every year that you add on to your degree, the cost balloons out. Now, if you're interested, there is one other way that you can speed up your degree to minimize that blowout. For example, if you know you're not going to be able to do more than 2 or 3 subjects a semester because you need to work, then one workaround, rather than extending the length of time on your degree, it's actually to bump up the number of subjects you do in a given year, but out of semester mode. So doing things like intensives that are run out of semester mode. They'll run between semester 1 and 2 or between your trimesters if that's the way your university works, or at the start of the year or at the end of the year. And then there's also some online self-paced modules that you can do at any time. By adding in those other subjects, you can speed up how long it takes you to do your degree, so you're then able to go out and get a job sooner and start making some money for yourself.